Hi, I'm Steve Krueger, and I assume you clicked on this video because you have sweaty palms or you have a friend who has sweaty palms. Now, a little background. As you can see, I've got a few years on me, but back 45, almost 50 years ago, I got into sales, and I was getting bummed out because I had what I consider a pretty severe case of sweaty palms, especially in a tense situation. In sales, you don't want to be shaking hands with when you have a sweaty palm. So I ran across a newspaper article, and that changed the course of my life, because it not only stopped my sweaty palms when I did this technique, it cured it. Now, the technique is you combine aluminum chloride 6 hydrate in crystal form with saran wrap or plastic wrap. You combine those two, which I'll demonstrate, and that is not only going to stop your sweaty palms, it's going to cure it. Now, right off, I'm not a doctor. What I'm trying to do is pass on what helped me, and hopefully it's going to help you. Now, I have a friend, actually a friend of a friend. We'll call her Linda. That's not a real name, but Linda had this problem, and I passed it on to her. She's doing the technique, and she's now walking around with warm, dry hands. And she said it's just really, really helped her in her social life and given her confidence. So I'm thinking, I could, with this new technology, I'll just check out YouTube. So I typed in how to stop sweaty palms and sweaty feet. I think that's what I typed in. And what came up with people taking Botox, surgery, people giving little short things like, you've put this lotion on, it'll solve. So I couldn't find anything that described this technique. And so that's my goal, is to pass this on to you, uh, to give you confidence, and you too are going to be walking around with warm, dry hands. This is a process. It'll take a while to finally cure your sweaty palms, but that's what I'm going to demonstrate. So here we go. All right. Now, here are the tools that you need to accomplish solving your sweaty palms and or sweaty feet. Get yourself some aluminum chloride 6 hydrate. This bottle is ancient. I think it all comes in plastic now, but you can get this on the internet. So get a bottle of this, and let's see. Get yourself some saran wrap. Now, I used saran wrap back in the day when I did this technique to solve my problem. Or I think any kind of plastic wrap will do, but I'm going to demonstrate using saran wrap. So you have your aluminum chloride, you have your saran wrap. Get yourself some tape, and I'll demonstrate. You're probably wondering, what the heck am I going to use tape for? But this is just painter's tape. So get some tape like this, and then get a jar like so. Like this, because you're going to mix the aluminum chloride in this jar with water. That's the key. So this is the crystal form, and let's dump some in. Okay. All right. Let's show that. So there's the aluminum chloride in crystal form. Of course, you have the top for the bottle. Now let me get some water. And I'll dump in just a little bit of water. And I'll shake it up. Now the key is you want to get something like a 1-to-1 ratio. You want to get the water and the aluminum chloride emulsified in the water. Emulsified, or I guess that's the word, or mixed real well. You don't want these crystals. So see all these crystals? You sure don't want that on your hands. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. Okay, keep shaking it. Now you might let this sit overnight so it really dissolves. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm back, and this is a good mixture. The water, or the crystals, the aluminum chloride has dissolved completely into the water. That's what you want. You don't want too much water. You don't want too much aluminum chloride. It's got to be a good mixture. But the more aluminum chloride you can get into the water to dissolve, the better, if that makes sense. So shake it up so there's no crystals in the water. Next, you get some Saran wrap or cling wrap, whatever. You get that off to the side. Now, the technique is I'm going to pour some of this into the palm of my hand, and you have to have some Saran wrap off to the side. I'm going to wrap my hand one, two, three, four, maybe 5 times with Saran wrap. And I'll do that off camera, but here we go. I'm going to pour just a little bit into my hand. Well, let me get this off to the side. Okay. Okay, I can feel I put too much water in, but you'll have to experiment with this. So I get my hand nice and wet, and you do this before you go to bed. This you got to do this for about 8 hours while you sleep. So, and I'm going to show you. I know that doesn't make sense to you now, but I've got uh, I've got my hand nice and wet. Now I have the Saran wrap, and I'm going to wrap my hand with it, and I'll be back. All right, I'm back, and I poured the water into my hand. Now, pretend or assume it's 10 o'clock at night. You do this, and you want a good 8 hours sleep uh, with your hand wrapped like this. I know this looks kind of creepy, but this is what you got to do. So, I've wrapped this probably 6 times, and the key is okay. You don't wanna wrap it so your hand is flat like this. You don't wanna wrap it real tight because you don't sleep with your hand, flat like this, and you wanna leave room for your thumb to come out. So do it so that you can fold your fingers like this. This is a s when you sleep, you kinda sleep with your hands like this. So, you need to get a nice comfortable sleep with this, and you'll be amazed. You'll fall right asleep, or it doesn't really bother you once you get used to it. So here we go. Now I'm going to tape it up, and I'll be back. I'll show you that. All right, here's my hand. Geez, I haven't done this in 30, 35 years, but I've got it so I can fold my hand like this as I sleep, and I've got it all taped up. I wrapped this, as I said, 6, 7 times. Now, the key, this is very important. When you close your hand like this and open it, if you feel air coming in, then you have to tape it a little bit more or maybe do more plastic wrap. The key is no air can get in under this plastic wrap. This your hand has to be completely air free, and that sets. I talked to somebody. I guess you have follicles or something in the palm of your hand, and the aluminum chloride kind of shuts off the well, whatever. Again, I'm no doctor, but this is what you do. And again, do it like so. Now, I know it looks kind of creepy, but as I said, this is going to help you. So I'll be back and explain a little bit more after I get this, what I call this glove off. One other thing, make sure you tape it not real tight so it, closes off the circulation, but it has to be taped here, up here, and all around. So I'll be back. Okay. Um, I always had a scissors on hand so I could cut it like so and pull your hand out like this. So that's just a little tip. Now, you're going to, when your hand gets out of the glove and is exposed to the air, I remember the first time I did this, um, I slept for 8 hours, good 8 hours sleep, and I had it all taped up so no air got into it. When I took the glove off, you'll feel your hand tingles. It really tingles. That's the aluminum chloride working. So um, I'm going to give you the timeline on how often you have to do this, or at least how often I had to do it. But the first time it's going to tingle, second time maybe a little bit, third time you won't feel a thing. Now, one thing for especially for for you ladies, if you're doing this, or for the guys, who knows? But your hand is not going to turn red. It's not going to wrinkle up. Well, I'm an old man, so I got a lot of wrinkles, but there will be no outward signs of. This technique to show. So that's something to remember. It doesn't hurt the hand. It's really cool. And now I'm going to come back and after I wash my hand and give you the timeline on this. Now I know this was kind of involved. It's going to be a hassle for you the first time, but as time goes by, it's going to become easier and easier for you. Now, the timeline is, if I remember right, I didn't have to do this technique for, I think, a month, and then my hands started to sweat a little bit. But um, you go the first time probably a whole month with a nice dry a nice dry warm hand, and then it starts sweating a little bit. So you do it again, let's say a month down the road. Then you go 2 months, and then it starts sweating again. This is a process thing. So you're just going to have to work with it. It took oh maybe over 2 3 years to finally cure yourself of the sweaty palms, because um, well, I'm sure it's gonna be different for everybody, but, just the next time your palms start sweat, do it again, and over the course of, maybe the 2nd year, you might only have to do it 3 times the 2nd year, maybe only once or twice the 3rd year, but it's gonna be different for everybody. Now, the nice thing about this, let's say you got a big, let's say it's 3 years down the road and you're pretty much you're cured. But for confidence building, let's say you're going to a real big meeting, you're going to shake lots of people's hands. You can do this procedure again. You might not have done it in 8, 9, 10 months, just to give you confidence for the big meeting that you're going to. Okay, before we close this video out, um, I want to cover a few points. Now, if you have questions, please leave a comment and I'll try to address it. And I'm sure there will be some questions on this. Now, every person is different, I would assume, and so you might not have to do these applications as often as I did. If I remember right, the first year I might have had to do this maybe four times. Um, because your palms start sweating. And then finally, the day is gonna come when those damn sweat glands are gonna say, "I quit, I give it up," and, they're just gonna stop producing sweat. And that might take, who knows, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these applications over maybe a couple of years. But it is gonna happen, and, you'll have nice, warm, dry hands. So, the main thing I wanna get across is if you take the time and the trouble to do this, you have to wrap. You might go through 5 yards of Saran wrap, and you have to tape it up real good, real well, so that absolutely no air gets in. If air gets in, you're doing this for nothing. You have to really, really use a lot of Saran wrap, and I was going through memory lane, and when I demonstrated, how to wrap your hand, um, I remember the first couple times I always wrapped it so my hand was kinda like this. When you wrap it, spread your thumb and little finger out like this so that, let me see if I can get this. I'll get it. Spread it out like so, and then wrap, and then when you sleep, you're gonna have almost a cocoon-like, and this'll let you sleep a lot better, um, if you don't wrap it too tight around your hand. But you might use, who knows, 5 yard or 4 yards of Saran wrap, and lots of tape so no air gets in. But when you start wrapping, wrap it with your hand out like this so that when you sleep, you can move your hand and your fingers like this and you'll get a good night's rest. So I'll be back to close this out. Or I've demonstrated how you can obtain warm, dry hands, how you can cure your problem of sweaty hands. Now let's talk about feet. I didn't wanna put my foot under the camera and wrap, Saran wrap around, you didn't wanna see that, so, but I'm gonna show you a little technique. Now the nice thing about well, first of all, if you're by yourself, you can only do one hand a night, so you wrap this hand up, and of course, you can't wrap the other hand up when you've got that big Saran wrap glove on, so, um the thing with the feet, you can do both feet, and that speeds up the process. So you can do both feet at night, get your 8 hours of sleep, making sure no air got in there. So what I want to pass on, the way I did it, I would lay this on a hard surface on the floor, and here's a mixture of water and aluminum chloride 6-hydrate. So flat surface, pour just a little bit of water and get it on your, of course, your foot like so. Now I laid tape on this side, so I bring it over like so, and then bring this over like so. And that gives you your start. Now you can take, of course, more saran wrap and start wrapping it. Wrap, 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 so that no air gets in there. So that's just a little tip on how to do your feet. You can do both of them in one evening. All right. This is the reason I made this video. I want to help all you folks out there who have this problem with sweaty palms or sweaty feet. The first impression when you do a handshake, I don't need to tell you how it's kind of embarrassing if you have a moist, cold hand. So go for it. Do this technique. It's going to change your life. It's going to give you self-confidence, as I've mentioned previously. And everyone, have a wonderful day.